And this is what I enjoy the most. I like this conceptual thinking of developing something from scratch and impress someone in a way they want to work with us. That's what I enjoy a lot.
Hello everyone, my name is András. I'm a designer from Budapest, and this is Off Brief. Off Brief is a podcast where I sit down with designers and people from the creative industry to talk about a number of topics that we find interesting. It's a format that is unscripted and long form, and this time I was able to travel to Prague to meet with Aleš Nešetřil, who is a designer and now a design director at STRV. So I think it was a really fun discussion, and I invite you to listen to it. So, welcome. By the way, thanks Pavel for the coffee. It was really good.
You are listening to and may be watching Off Brief.
So we are rolling.
Perfect.
Thank you for welcoming me to the STRV offices. It's really nice to be here. Can you tell me which room are we in?
We are in a Hall of Justice right
Hall
now.
of Justice. That is just amazing. This is where justice happens. That's great.
Of course.
So basically, since I've had a trip to your beautiful city, Prague, I thought, why not record an episode with you? And I'm really glad that you've accepted it. And thank you for being here, really. I appreciate the time.
Thanks as well.
I have a bunch of different topics that I want to talk to you about. And first, I know you, I've seen your account on Instagram and you're quite big there. How many followers do you have now?
Oh man, I don't know. Over 18,000 right now?
Over 18,000. That's cool. Because you don't share boobies and
No, I don't.
other pictures.
That wasn't the plan.
So you're not a mainstream account in that sense, and it's still really nice to see people following a designer's account, and you have a very consistent output. You have a very nice grid. You have very cool photos. Do you want to talk about that for a while?
For sure, we can start about that for sure. It wasn't really a plan to have an account like this, to be honest, because what I usually wanted to do was to share my work, and Instagram seems like a good platform to do it because it was growing at a time and I was considering it. But even before Instagram, I was actually doing the same on Dribble. So this is where it initially started, and then over time it kind of transformed to Instagram. And it's quite funny because I'm not a good photographer at all. And maybe I don't see myself as like an influencer or this like buzzword that everyone's using right now. I usually do it.
You are in the designer community, I think.
Could be, but I don't like consider myself that way.
Okay, makes sense.
It's just like doing good work and talking about it with others. That's pretty much the plan, what I'm doing. And over time, it grew into these numbers, which is exciting. But on the other hand, what people don't usually realize is actually bringing quite a lot of pressure on yourself or myself as a creator, because you still need to put out new work, right? To keep people entertained and keep their attention. So that's... It might sound nice to have numbers like this or account like this, but it's also quite a lot of work behind the scenes. And also what people don't see, it's like hard to keep it up, let's say.
I see. Do you have fear of posting? Thinking of a post that is not as good as the previous ones, or do you have any fear like that, or not really?
Not really fear of posting, but maybe to keep a certain quality over time in terms of, am I still progressing or am I still posting the same stuff all over again? Which I think can sometimes fall into a stereotype, which is something I don't want to do. I still want to grow and I still want to learn new things and talk about those. But sometimes it's like, not sure how to describe it exactly. It could be like a blog sometimes where you're not sure whether this could be interesting for others or not, which sometimes is interesting for you, but you're not sure about how to talk about it or how to mention it, how to bring it up as a topic. So it is sometimes more difficult to select the things I want to post rather than just have fear of posting. It's like being selective more and more to only create the stuff you want to put out there.
That sounds cool.
I think other like designers and creators also have that because you're the more people you have and more people are following you, you feel certain like obligation to keep them or keep the like
Keep
profile.
their attention up.
Yeah, keep the level of your profile really good, and also in the same time keep progressing as a creative person, because if you got stuck, like it's maybe not going to be interesting for people anymore, and basically your profile will degrade over time. So that's what people like fear over time, I would say. And it's also been a struggle of mine, to be honest.
Wow, that's interesting that you talk about struggle. Although from the outside, it looks really nice and it looks really professional. So congratulations for that, by the way. Just a little bit on your background and where you come from and how you got into design, not really photography. We can talk about Instagram later on. I'm really curious about how you can be at such a big company working as a creative director. And also just one fun fact, if we go back to history, not history, we were born on the same day.
Yes.
We are the same age, 26. So that's kind of funny. I don't know how you feel about your age and working as a creative director at STRV. Can you talk about that for a bit?
Well, it might be surprising for a lot of people, and I've like talked about it before because they see it as something which is unusual. They have the creative director role associated with someone who is like 20, 30 years in a business or in the industry. And in my case, it was sort of a different story because I kind of, with the company and how it grew over time, I had a chance to work on stuff that was maybe something outside of my like regular scope of work. So besides working on clients, I also had a chance to work with different teams and basically lead some of the things on our end. And over time, we just felt like maybe stepping up or having someone who is responsible for those things in our company could be associated with a creative director role. And we agreed with the team and my colleagues that this is maybe a way how to do it, because it sends also a signal to clients. Hey, there's someone who is responsible for the whole team. There is someone who is, have the skills on a certain level you are looking for. And it actually helped me to, when negotiating with clients or presenting the company, to have I don't know how to describe it, like a sense of someone who knows what they're doing, if I simplify it. And to me, again, if you bring it up to some stuff in the background, like, again, it's maybe a little bit of pressure on myself as well. So everyone only sees the nice, fancy title of, you're leading the team, you're doing this amazing client work.
But it's a lot of work.
But it's a lot of work. And I think it is appropriate to have a title like this when you are handling, 14 people in a team, when you're discussing clients like Microsoft or Boosted Boards, like you have to be on a certain level in terms of your skills to do that. And I think the title kind of reflects that. The other thing is that most people don't see it that way. So this is where like sometimes some we had issues in the past who people are complaining like in the communities like how he can have such a title when he's working just 5-10 years in a business. Like we work our ass off to get there, etc. But this is a different story. This is a different company, and it just fits the circumstances we have right now, and it works perfectly.
That's great, really. And you have, as I see it, I mean, being here in this office for just 1 hour now until we've set up all this equipment, the culture looks really nice. And as I'm talking about culture, I mean, I see people here, I see people greeting me here, and also see just the environment of where you work, and it looks really, really amazing. And you are a network of companies, right? So STRV in that sense is not only based in Prague, but in other places.
Yeah, we also have offices in LA and San Francisco mainly. This is where most of our business is, so it makes sense to have a sales team in there. In Czech Republic, we also have Brno office, which is quite small, but we also have plenty of people in there. So we're basically having the sales and / marketing team in the US and then the production team in Europe.
And how many people are you here with?
Right now, it's like 180, I would say. I don't know the exact number, so that's the total of the company. And in Prague, it's like 140, 120.
So the majority of...
Yes, majority is in Prague.
People in Europe are in Prague, basically.
Yep.
And in terms of production people, what is the percentage or number?
So most of these people are developers. That's the majority. And design team has 14. And then other smaller teams have around like 5, 10, if you account marketing, finance.
And you're responsible for the design team,
yes,
obviously.
for the design team only.
And you are doing UI and UX, right?
Yes, that's how I started. It was first only web design. That's pretty much how everyone started, right?
Photoshop time.
Yes, back in years. And then it kind of shifted over UI, UX, where it's funny because when I was signing up for STRV, I only had like 2 apps in my portfolio. I didn't really...
You've already had 2 apps. That's
it's
great.
like side
a lot
projects.
of people don't have 2 apps in their portfolio.
And like one of them was a client work, but then it was just like side projects. So I started pretty much on I consider like a junior position, to be honest. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time.
No one does.
And when I got the opportunity to get my hands on client work and join STRV at the time, it kind of snowballed over time, and I learned more and more about it. And then I felt comfortable when dealing with bigger accounts and bigger projects.
And do you only talk to designers and project managers, or as your role suggests, you are doing a lot of management work as well? So do you communicate with clients, or do you communicate with people inside your project management team?
I think it's set up a little differently in our company, where I'm not personally involved in client projects, where designer who is assigned to a project is handling everything on their own, and I'm only looking after the whole team from the high level.
And the quality of work.
Yes, in a sense.
So basically how the work goes and what do they develop throughout the
Yes, exactly.
project.
And then it's up to the designer who is on a project to lead it on their own. So imagine you'll be a freelancer, you're assigned to a project, and you take care of everything, including tasks, management and delivery. All of that is on your own, and I'm only there to support you in case you need any help.
Wow. And
a lot of freedom.
That sounds good. And how do you distribute your resources? I mean, first of all, your own and also the team's resources. So what I want to ask is how you allocate your time throughout the day, and what does like an average day for you look like?
So it changed a little in the beginning of this year, because I took over the whole team. Previously, I was leading it with a colleague, so there were 2 of us. But since January, I'm only like a solo leader for the whole team. So that means I take care of everything from marketing, sales, resources, as you mentioned, leading the team, and management. And my day right now is shifted more towards the managerial role. So I'm getting used to handling resources, handling hiring, handling the whole team on its own as itself. So that means less design time, which is kind of hard for me, right? I'm used to constantly put out new work.
Operational work.
Yeah.
On the computer within Sketch or other platforms.
Yeah. And now it's kind of shifting towards being the actual leader of the team, which is something I'm getting used to quite a lot. But I saw it as an interesting challenge for myself, because I can maybe, since the approach in our company is quite, we have a lot of freedom as employees. I had a chance to customize this role for myself any way I want. So that means if I make a system in a way how I deal with leadership and management, I have more free time for design work, right? So that is what I'm trying to do right now, to kind of optimize my role, so I still take care of everything that is required in a team, including other people, resources, management, and then in the end also have free time to do design. So that means I can maybe have 1 client at a time and still do the teamwork. So that is what I'm trying to do. And if we would take a typical day, it usually starts with putting the team first. So I need to make sure the whole team is running smoothly. And then I can think of other stuff I can do in my free time, whether it's trying to improve our process as a team, or doing my own personal stuff. That's always secondary.
Wow. And what I want to ask is, can you take on a client project and still be able to manage the team that you have to manage? And have you been doing it in the past, half a year, or how much have you been involved in this position?
I have a long-term client right now, which is lasting for more than a year. And it was, designed at the initial stage, and it's more like a support role right now, supporting developers and making sure it's going to be developed the way I want.
So a lot of handovers with the developers.
So I'm not involved that much as I was before. But that's pretty much the plan. I always want to keep progressing as a designer because I'm afraid that if I'll be only the leader and manager, I will lose a sense of design. And I think that's important to at least keep
yourself sharp.
Yeah, and occupied by, I don't know whether it's a client work or side project, whatever it is, but just keep designing. And that's what I wanted to make essential part of my role as well, because having leading a team and having not having a sense about latest trends or how the industry is progressing, I think that would be a mistake. So it is quite challenging, to be honest, to learn how to manage, because I have not done it in the past, and I'm sort of becoming more of a leader over time, but I see it's gonna take a while to get there. And I see this as a initial investment to maybe leave design for a while and not be that involved, but over time bring it back once I get more comfortable with leading a team and handling all the stuff I'm required to do as that role.
And what are the questions that you get asked the most, and what are the challenges that your colleagues are facing, and what do they come up to you with, hey, I need help in this segment of my work, or what are the most frequently asked ones?
So right now we have a little adjustments that we made in our team, which is that we as a team take responsibility for our output. It's not only me. That means that I might not be involved that much when reviewing other people's work. And we set up design reviews that are happening weekly, so other colleagues can discuss work between each other, which essentially is saving my time as well. It's not that I would not like to be involved, but I would like to bring everyone around together and work on it together, which I think would be more interesting than just me leading everything everywhere. There'll be a lot of micromanagement. But the questions we are often asked is always the same. It's UX patterns and working with a specific case for an app or a website. And I think bringing more people in to discuss the idea as a group is better than just me leading a certain direction. And I like it because other people have different opinions, different takes, and in the end, it can spice up the product or spice up the feature we are trying to do. And
so you have more minds working on one thing, basically.
Yes, which is something we have not done in the past. Previously, we were not that much involved, but right now I see it more and more. And collaboration is something people mention a lot in our team, and we are trying to get better at in that topic specifically, to help on these reviews or with those questions that are being asked over time.
And what kind of projects do you take on? I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this. Obviously, all NDAs aside, only talk about what you're comfortable with and what you can say publicly. So is it a lot of mobile apps? Is it a lot of web-based apps? What is it? What type? Because in your feed, what I see are a lot of very nicely organized, pretty pictures with awesome visuals. But I can't really believe that it's only that. I do think there is something in the background that you either cannot share or you will be sharing in the future. So I wonder what the work really is, what you guys put out.
So it's, in terms of mobile versus web, it's 50-50. It always was. I think there are sometimes it's up and down. Sometimes there's more, clients coming in with apps. Sometimes with web. So, but in a regular terms, by default, it's 50-50. I think that the way how I post stuff online, or as we post it as a team. So, for example, for the past few weeks or months, we have not been that active because obviously a lot of stuff is under NDA. But I think it is important to keep yourself active on those networks. So we are trying to get better at sharing work in progress or stuff that has not been published or launched. We actually have a special line in our contracts with clients where when the project is finished, it can be shared automatically.
It can be released. Wow,
and also,
that's great.
And also during the time that it's being developed, if we consulted with client, we can maybe show a certain part of it. So that's something new we have not talked about that much in the past as well, but it is in there. And we had a quite an interesting meeting at the beginning of the last year where we looked over all the clients we worked on. And we have a huge list of stuff we have finished, but nothing has been published just yet. So I think in the upcoming weeks, months, we're gonna put it all out there. And for me specifically, it's kind of different because I only had one client for over like a long period of time, and it's gonna take another year or even more to get it published because it's quite big, and it's like a special.
Have to create the case studies and stuff like that.
And it's like a special NDA even, so that's gonna be a little different. But essentially, the way how I want to lead the team is how I grew up as a designer. I was always interested in sharing what I work on to show other people to get better over time. And this is what I want to have in a team as well, to have more people doing the same stuff, which means not only doing great work, but also be able to talk about it and share it as much as you can.
I think one of the reason for your success is your way of documentation. You pay you pay great attention to how you put out work, how you present it, and also the fact that you have to put it out for people to see it. Can you share your best practices and just the mindset that you put yourself in terms of sharing? Because what I see is that there really are a lot of great people, a lot of very good designers, and no one shares their work in the way they should be. It's resting in their hard drive somewhere, and it's not put out there.
So I have made documenting my process almost like an essential part of what I do.
I think that's one of the crucial things.
Yes, and it happened like years back, even before I had any Instagram dribble whatsoever, any platform, because I just liked showing other people what I do. And it was, even when I was designing something, I was already thinking about how I would describe it to someone, or if I need to convince someone it is a good idea, how I would do it. If I would create, previews, I would write it down, whatever will be the format. So this is what happened in the beginning of my career. I was constantly thinking about it in my head when I was creating anything. And then I kind of adjusted my approach over time, where I would not only think about how I do it, but I was doing it on the go. So when I was designing something, I was already taking pictures on the go. And I was saving it somewhere else. And when the right time came, I just published it all at once. And it's...
So you basically work the documentation process within the kind of work.
It's an essential part of everything I do right now. And it isn't about... some people may say it's distracting, but I do it in a way so it's, almost feels like a part of the job itself.
But it should be. I mean, it is. And that's the nice thing about it, is that you've made it work.
Yes, and I also see how it works right now when I'm in the leadership role, because I was basically training myself over years to be able to describe and lead a conversation about those topics or these designs. So now when I'm discussing something important with a big board of people or bigger teams, I'm not stressed out that I'll say something wrong, or I'm not sure about how I would say something. I'm just so trained into this case, so it comes naturally to me. And this, to be honest, in some sales calls I had when discussing concepts we made or proposals for clients, this is where it paid off really well, because I knew exactly what to say, how to show it, and how to
present it.
How to present it in a way, yes.
Wow.
And when I'm doing the same for Instagram, it's just the same methodology, but using it for a public. So when I take a look at my profile, I see it from the point of view did I describe it well so people understand what I'm doing, or does it show exactly what I want to show? And as you can see on the numbers, it obviously pays off over time. It took a while to get more numbers and more people, but again, I take it as a first step. Right now I'm trying to explore whether Instagram is even the right platform for this. If it's better maybe to have YouTube and talk about those stuff in videos.
Oh, you started doing videos, case study videos?
Yes.
And also tutorials.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, I have a secret that I have to tell you. So the first video you've put out, I think it's around 3 years old or even more, where you shared your sketch best practices on naming artboards. I've stole that from you, and I've been using it and implementing it for the past years, really. And a lot of teams have adopted it. So we are also using it, the 3-digit things.
That's perfect.
And it's been working great. So
thank you.
So yeah, using YouTube as a platform. I mean, this is also what I'm trying to do with this podcast, is to release it there and also other places where it's only audio, but to see what the reaction will be from the audience and what they will pick up on and what they're interested in. What are your, future goals or experiments that you want to do?
Well, maybe you can talk about why I decided for YouTube, because that's where the shift is kind of happening right now. I have discovered that Instagram and just posting single posts or series of posts isn't really the way how I want to talk about my work, because it's quite limiting for me. And I saw
You write really nice captions, and many of them are quite long, so people
Yes.
really have to read through. But as you say, it's still limiting for you.
because you are competing against kittens and
Yeah.
cats and memes, all of that stuff. So people are looking for maybe a different content on Instagram compared to what I want to talk about.
I see.
So I saw YouTube as a platform where I can go deep into what I'm doing and describe those things even more in detail. And essentially the goal over time is to have it as a portfolio. I want to use those videos to show my know-how and skills, and maybe have clients who would, instead of browsing my article or case study, they will play a video and understand how I work, how I, for example, did Apple TV for Tinder, or how I work for Boosted. So describe my process in there and also show all the work examples, where I wanted to do the same on Instagram but didn't work out at all, because of the algorithm and people not having that much of a time to browse these shots, compared to YouTube, where people come for education and to learn something new. So I wanted to reposition the content in a different platform and use it in a way so it makes sense for me more.
And how would you compare Behance with these?
Behance is something I've done for a while as well. I have like plenty of projects in there, but on Behance I see an issue with quality and quantity in the same time, where you have people who have awesome case studies, but they're just getting lost in the volume of stuff that's being posted in there. And that was an issue on my own as well, where I would spend months doing a project and it will just get lost in like the amount of work that's being published every day. And I still plan to use it. I think it's a great platform to do more detailed stuff compared to dribble Instagram. But it's just so many people doing the same thing that you're gonna get lost, and you have to build an audience that's gonna be interested in new stuff. And I see when I take a look at other designers who are maybe more known than me and have more work in there, they have the same issue. Like in terms of numbers, they're getting the same numbers as someone who is new and have just 2 projects, but maybe they're special about something and you'll get attention. But that was my issue with Behance, that I just got lost, and I saw that if I would invest more time, it's not gonna be paying off in any way. I was not getting any messages or requests through Behance anymore.
But do you think it's good or better for people who don't have a website? So maybe just to use it as a publishing platform, as a place to put out their work?
Yep, that's a great idea. And I used it the same way for many years. I only had Behance as my main portfolio. And the trick is that you are limited. When you're designing portfolio, people just go nuts and they design crazy stuff. Compared to on Behance, you have some limitation in terms of the width of the page and the components you can use and the way how to use the platform itself. And I saw that as a benefit, that I don't need to overthink it and I just stick with those basic rules and do what I can.
I mean, Behance used to have this background frame
Oh yeah, man, that's
and the stuff in the center. And I also have a project that is based on that, and it's still showing kind of okay, but they've since then moved to
I have spent hours and hours just to align
adjust
it.
those. Yeah, it wasn't a very good system, but now they have it cleaned up, I think. And you also have your own website that I think you built in Webflow. Is that correct?
Right now it's ReadyMag, but I'll be switching
It's
it to
ReadyMag.
Webflow. Yes.
Why? I also use ReadyMag for my own. I just don't have all the projects published that I want to have, but I will. Yeah. I mean, I'm not as good in documentation as you are, but I'm striving for it. Why? I mean, if you can talk about ReadyMag just for a short while and explain why you want to switch to Webflow, and what do you think the platform gives you in terms of features, in terms of publicity, anything?
So ReadyMag,
I think it's a great tool, by the way.
Yeah,
I
me
built
too.
a website for a client there. I mean, it's
good.
one of my recent things. It's obviously just a brochure site, so it's not really complex or anything.
What I like about it is the freedom, because you can. It's like almost like Sketch or any like
You have
software.
baselines. You
Yes.
have baselines. You don't have baselines anywhere else other than in design. So I think that's great.
I think it was all the freedom I had to really create anything I wanted. But that was also its biggest issue, because over time I have realized it is quite hard to do anything manually. It's like a blank canvas and you can readjust all the stuff, layout, whatever components. So I have made a couple of websites in there. I had my personal website. I had some stuff for STRV as well in there. And I think it's a great tool. But what made me switch to Webflow is it is more like a web development tool compared to ReadyMag being like a publishing platform. So with Webflow, I think it still has quite a lot of freedom, but it feels more like a tool for building an actual website where you have all those responsive website elements, and you can customize almost like the code side of things without writing a code, which is amazing. And I feel like it is better for building more sophisticated websites, where on ReadyMag you cannot really do subpages. In case you can if you hack it, but it's not meant to be a tool for building more sophisticated websites, which is something I was looking for when I was trying to do another version of my portfolio. I wanted to have more subpages, different components, and the responsive side of things a little bit more polished. And Webflow offered me that option, where since I have some coding skills and background, it was easy for me to learn the basics and then just keep practicing until I felt like this is the tool I want to use. I will still keep using both, I think, but I will always choose. I will maybe think twice about which one to choose for which project. When I want to do something super simple, where I just, for example, want to have one page about one topic, I will go with ReadyMag, compared to more sophisticated website with more subpages or e-commerce. I will probably go for Webflow. And what I also look forward to with Webflow is they have a big community and resources, so you can share and duplicate a lot of stuff and use templates that they have free, like available for free for anyone.
Okay. And do you think, can we maybe pause just for 2 minutes? I really want to check whether the audio is working correctly.
Let's do it.
And then we can continue. And we can continue. Thanks for the quick break. So do you think that coding skills are essential for you if you're thinking about moving into Webflow?
I would not say essential, but you at least have to know the theory of how websites are being built. Because in Webflow, you are not like moving objects on a canvas, let's say, compared to ReadyMag, but you have to understand how the basics of web layout works and how to work with divs and components, and how to actually put them on a layout to build a whole website. So this is something I knew from the past because I was coding for a while, and now it's
HTML and CSS, or other things as well?
Only these, yeah,
Okay.
HTML, CSS, and only this helped me to understand the basics, and now I'm able to do what I want, pretty much.
And does this skill set help you in terms of handover? When you kind of talk with developers a lot, maybe?
I would say it does, because in a sense, you can design a website so it's easily, you can then transform it into code easily. Just to keep it in mind when you are designing, I think it could be a benefit for sure.
Do you see differences in people when they don't really have a coding background, or they do not really know HTML, CSS, and design something that will not be easy to do in code, or that's not really a matter?
I would say
because
it's
they
not
know
that big
the
of an
patterns
issue.
and the basics.
Yeah, I think it's not that big of an issue. But when it comes to some special effects, I think that's more of an issue in terms of mobile apps, where I think web is pretty fine, but on mobile, like some interactions or animations, they could be hard to make. So if you have a designer who will create awesome animation in After Effects and then want developer to build it, that's where the issue can be.
But so now you're talking about transitions, but in terms of the layout itself, like
I don't think so.
Placing a footer, placing a header, placement and size of the buttons maybe.
Yeah.
So those are not an
No,
issue.
I don't think so. It should be fine because the way how designers think about building a layout, it's similar to how developers do it. But in some cases where there's more advanced stuff required, that's where, this is like a bonus skill to have.
That's cool. And it's cool that you have it. I didn't know that you were coding for a while.
It's like early beginnings of my career. It's actually when I decided to switch to design because I got lost in code.
I see.
It wasn't really the passion I wanted to have.
And can you talk just a little bit about how you share feedback with each other when you have these design reviews, and how many people can chime into one conversation and then lead the design process from there?
So right now it's like a experimental stage where we usually have one day set up for reviews.
One full day?
No, like one meeting.
One meeting
day,
and
yes.
within a day. I
and
see.
It's usually sorted out in a way where designer who wants to present something to the whole team will book a spot on this meeting. They will come in, open up what they want to talk about, and the whole team gathers and we'll like do a critique of that work, let's say. We usually book it 1 week up front so the person get prepared. They can finish what they have to, and then like polish some sort of a presentation or the topic itself they want to talk about. And then the whole team comes over, actually in this room most of the time, where
Hall of Justice.
Hall of Justice, that's the name.
So funny.
And we will open up the work, and the designer will kind of present what they're working on, like mention what they want to help with, or if there are some issues they want to solve. And then the whole team kind of participates in a discussion where we're trying to solve those issues, maybe point out what we would change, what can be improved. And this whole thing is like a feedback session. We call it, I think, show and tell. And then the designer who presented can take all of this feedback and incorporate it into design, or maybe we'll give the designer some arguments for the client call so they can talk about the work more. And it's, as I say, just experimental. We are like testing out different approaches, but the goal is to be more collaborative over time and have more people participating on a project, even when it's just sharing some ideas and feedback, which can push the other designer to better output.
And what I'm curious about is when you review work, how much of it is just subjective, like stylistic feedback, and how much is it like interaction, navigation, how you deal with UX patterns, for example?
It's a mixture of everything at once, because we have people in a team who are more visually driven, we have people who are more UX driven, and when all of them sit in the same room, they have different points. So one of them will point out, we can maybe change this icon because it doesn't fit well. Another person will say, maybe you can actually move this icon over to the left corner because it makes more sense in terms of UX. And all those things are happening on the same meeting, and people cannot get the context behind those decisions, and then we can collectively shape the way how the product is going to evolve over time and how it's going to be designed.
And do you think that UX can be separated from UI, or do you think that those two are really a merged kind of process or skill, actually?
So right now...
Do you know anyone who knows UX very good? I mean, also the research part and building the wireframes and knowing the patterns, and have no knowledge in UI. Do you see that they come with a different mindset?
Right now, it is set up in a way where we consider every member of our team being a product designer, where they take both UI and UX on the same level. It's like merging those two together, knowing 50% of that topic, 50% of the other one, and that's what kind of forms the product designer, so they can think both visually and also in terms of UX. But we also had cases where we would have a colleague who was only focused on UX at a time. That was his main part. But the types of projects or clients coming into our company, they were not really interested in pure UX work at all. They always wanted to build the whole thing, and this is what we try to hire for, to have someone who can cover both in the same time. But it's not like a specialty that I would have. We're trying to have people who can cover both cases, and this is what clients usually look forward to and they're expecting, compared to having just UI designer and UX designer, make them work together somehow. That will be too much of a communication involved and management. So the way it is set up in a team is that the designer, who is usually assigned to a project, can handle the whole thing on their own, and there is no one else helping them in case they don't want to. However, there might be someone in a team who is specialized in visuals more. So we are trying to assign him projects that are more towards what he wants to do, and this is how we want to make sure that people work on stuff they want to work on, they're happy about it, and also adjust the way how we assign those projects or how we close them, even to have people working on the stuff they want to, which is goal, to have happiness in a team.
Sure. That's cool. Oh, there are people here. That's great. I mean, this is new for me. Seeing people in the office on Sundays, that's unusual for our place. As you said, you have like an open hours policy. You can come in and go whenever you want to. You also have home office days, which we don't. So yeah, this is new for me, and it looks great.
Yeah, it is.
People are not stressed out. They're happy to come in just for a few hours. That's cool. And how long does a project usually take for you guys? I mean, you've said that you've been involved in a very kind of long thing, but are there others that are just 3 months long or even shorter than that?
That's about the standard, 2 months, 3 months. That's like an average we have.
Wow, that's quite a fast pace of working.
Yes, and it's due to the type of work. It's mostly startups who are starting from scratch, and you can really do MVP in 2 months of design work. The development takes longer, obviously, but designers like 2 months. It's about an average, I would say. Then we have also cases where it's shorter, where client only wants to make selected screens, pages, and style guide, and want to finish it on their own, just develop it.
So they have their own design team.
Could be, yes.
Could be
also a case. Then we also have long-term projects, and this is where we have ongoing partnerships with companies who stay with us for years almost, and we have someone assigned constantly to service that client over time.
I see.
It's like a mixture of different engagements, and also the way how we offer our services, they are tied specifically for those, I don't know exactly how we call it now, but there are different types of engagements we are offering as a service, and clients can pick what they want based on what they're looking for.
Has it been in any of the cases that you've helped out in the sales part of the work, that you've been brought on a call just to have like a designer sitting there and explaining what's going to be done or how the engagement is going to be continued?
Got it. That's pretty much my job.
Okay.
Or it used to be more previously. Now it's a little different, but that was what I actually enjoyed as well, because this not only includes having a designer on a call, but also working on a lot of proposals and concepts to open doors for new opportunities. And this is what I enjoy the most. I like this conceptual thinking of developing something from scratch and impress someone in a way they want to work with us. That's what I enjoy a lot. And then on calls, it's mostly describing or talking about our process in general, which over time I've mastered in a way so I know exactly what to say. And it's almost like a script because those people are asking the same stuff, asking for the same stuff. And I know what to highlight to make them feel comfortable and then assure them we are the right partner to work with us.
You have a complete recipe.
Almost, but there were like many failures I had when I underestimated the process or underestimated the client, or someone came in and I wasn't aware. These little small mistake I made along the way. But now I am able to talk about the team and talk about the process in a way so I feel comfortable. And this, in the end, is the most important, I think, because this is bringing deals for the company, essentially.
You're quite an essential part of the whole operation, I think.
Yes, and I was joking that my name is Aleš, and if you put S in there, it reads as sales. Little joke.
That's good. How do you pronounce your name correctly? Is it Aleš Nešetřil?
Yes, Aleš Nešetřil. It's like a specialty in Czech language. We have these weird,
And why do you have those things? Because there are a lot of special accent characters in other languages as well. I mean, we have stuff in Hungarian, there is stuff in Romanian. So what's the difference in pronunciation, like a regular S and an esh?
S and Esh. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a specialty we have in our language, and yeah, it's really hard to describe, and it takes like years to learn. When
Okay.
you're a little kid, you have to learn these S, R, J, all of these letters.
So you have
And-
different grammar for
Yes,
for
it's,
each case.
I don't know how it's called in Czech even. I don't remember it from school, but these letters are part of our alphabet, and they have special meaning when you say them. Almost, if I get it right.
Okay. So they have a different meaning if you use them in certain cases.
Mm-hmm.
And did you do any jobs for the local market? I'm asking because I want to ask a few things about typography and whether you're looking for localized typesets that also support your language. Have you found any problems, or maybe do you have any insights?
In the past, I did. I worked for plenty of Czech clients in the past. That's true. But I think Google Fonts mostly covered those cases. And I was specifically, because when you're like testing out the typography and the content, you immediately notice this is something right or wrong. So
Yeah.
Google Fonts are mostly safe for this. And
Okay.
sometimes when you see it, when someone does it wrong and they don't even print it out, it's horrible.
I haven't seen any Calibri or any Comic Sans in the
Yeah.
office.
This is totally fine, but if you walk through, across Prague, you'll see maybe some cases, even using the wrong letters and stuff.
I see. Well, yeah, good use of typography is always nice when you see it. Don't you find that sometimes the Google Fonts library is limiting in terms of style if you want to do for like a special thing for, I don't know, boosted boards maybe?
It is, that's true, and that's why I usually reach out for other sources. But the thing is that not all of them are optimized for mobile. Sometimes
For mobile or for web?
for mobile, because
What is the difference? I don't know, because it's WOFF. I mean, in the extension term.
I don't know exactly, but I think Typekit doesn't
Okay.
support mobile. So this is what you have to be aware, because we had cases in the past where we chose something from Typekit and it didn't work out for the app. So when using some special font or something which is unusual, we also have a alternative backup, which is similar, that we can eventually use if the main one doesn't fit in. But I think looking for custom fonts is almost like an easy, only way to spice up a mobile app. It's quite limiting, as you said, to use Google Fonts or some defaults. And when you have something special in there, it just, the look and feel is different, way different. And since mobile apps are kind of standardized in terms of components and the styling, this is the only way where you can go crazy and combine it with some different style and make something unique.
Has it been a case that you've been able to convince a client for purchasing a font or a font license?
Yes. It's sometimes quite a challenge because they don't understand why is it so expensive. So that's why we always include alternative, which is mostly free. But
This is the cool version, and this is
pretty much what I say on a call, exactly. And there are cases where they understood we really want to do something special. We want to do it right. We feel like this is part of our branding. This is something unique. We want people to feel. Let's invest into it. It's totally fine. And then we had cases where why would you pay for a font? Is it free on the internet? Why would you? So there's two
Those
different...
are letters.
Yes.
We're using letters.
And they are not aware. And sometimes we even manage to convince them, hey, maybe if you invest more, the app is going to have a different look and feel, and people will understand why you do it.
Are going to engage more with the brand itself. And in terms of boosted boards, how much can you share? Is it already
I
done
think it's
and ready?
out there already.
Oh.
Yeah. So on boosted boards, I was part of the initial stage of the project, even before we worked together officially. So I was working closely with the boosted team to define the product we will be building later. So I was part of the beginning, and then once we agreed on a cooperation or partnership, my colleague was taking over the whole project, and we were working on new iOS and Android apps. So we essentially redesigned both of them, coming with also new series of boards. As far as I remember, the timing was about the same. And then we have ongoing partnership in terms of development. So At this moment, I'm not sure what we are doing together in terms of design, but the development is kind of ongoing thing, and we're helping them to build those products.
So it's also maintenance.
Yes, maintenance. And I think it'll be interesting to do something else together as well. Boosted is one of the companies where it's IoT, it's an interesting topic, and people like working on it. And the team is also really open to new ideas and the way how the product can be shifted. So this is something I would enjoy working more as well, and I think our team would as well. So hope there's something new coming in.
Do you own a boosted board?
We have a few in the office for testing purposes.
For testing. Do you bring them out?
Yes, people actually borrow them for weekend if they want to go somewhere.
Those are great and I think dangerous as well.
Yes,
and
it's true.
You also have a skating background, or do you skate now currently?
Not that much as I used to, but I do have a lot of background.
What are the tricks that you know?
I was always the heel flip guy. I never.
No kickflip.
No, I had no
left
idea how to do
direction
it
flip.
because I felt like I'm gonna twist my ankle. But if you do heel flip, it's like easier for me to do. So this was one of the tricks I was most proud to learn. And then since I'm pretty, short guy, so I cannot do really, jumping super huge steps, stairs and stuff. So I usually did a lot of stuff on a flat ground, doing a series of tricks and then recording it with friends. And what I enjoy about skateboarding, it's the one thing that it taught me is that no matter how many times you bail and you're on the ground and hard, there is always a way to step up again and do the trick again and try over. And this is what I applied into my career over time. And I think about it retrospectively, which is no matter how many fails you do, you can still try again
and maybe
yes
succeed in.
And skateboarding is one of the things that I enjoyed throughout my whole high school pretty much. This was I was only doing design and I was only doing skateboarding. There was nothing else. And it's every day skating. It was the best times we had.
How many boards have you broken?
Not many actually, because short guy. I don't really do that many tricks from big stairs, and also there's no chance for me to break a board if I am so light on a board.
I see.
So I broke 2-3 tops, not many.
That's okay. Can you or do you want to talk about your book on Instagram actually, and how do you find that it resonated with the audience?
Yeah, I can mention it for sure. Can mention it. Since we started,
I've also bought it. I just want to put it out there that I've paid some money.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Since we started with Instagram, we can bring it up right now. I always wanted to write a book, a real physical book one day.
A physical book, okay.
And
this is digital only, right?
This is digital only. And this was pretty much the first step I wanted to do in that long-term journey. I wanted to test out if I'm even capable of writing something longer than an article.
Form.
And this started as I was writing a series of articles. And then I noticed that there is much more I can say on that topic. And I was playing around with an idea to have a physical book, but I was not really sure how to do it. And having an ebook looked like a middle way, how to test it out, test out the whole process, test the whole campaign and how that's gonna run. And Instagram at the time was something I was spending quite a lot of time on. This was when I was starting to get noticed in the community and starting getting more and more followers. And I saw it as something I can maybe be known for, at least in Czech Republic, because I was not really aiming for global market at the time. So I wanted to write down all the stuff I have learned throughout the whole year, pretty much, and what got me into the position I was at the point. And I wrote pretty much a personal story almost, how I got into it, why I'm doing it, and how to do it if you want to do it the same way I want. And in the end, it ended up being a 100 pages ebook where I, sold a couple of copies. People like it. And for me, it's meant now I feel more comfortable in writing a real book one day. I tested out how the process works. I tested out how it feels when you're writing something in long term. I know how it feels when the public is reacting to it. If you are suddenly being known for a certain topic as a leader or expert in that field. And it also meant for me to almost close a chapter of my life called Instagram. Not really close it in a sense I will not continue it, but also kind of put what happened to me over those few months and years and put it into a written form and share it with everyone else. And it was like a interesting moment in my career when I noticed that this is maybe one of the goals I wanted to achieve, and being really proud of myself for doing that. And then I only enjoyed everything that came afterwards, more people coming in and more people wanted to talk about the topic. And in the end, I basically proved to myself I'm capable of doing this project on my own, and it's gonna open new doors for me in the future. But if I would do it differently and just aim for, printed the book right away, it will be probably more difficult than just doing this one step at a time and then snowball from that.
And what do you want to write about in your upcoming book?
So with Instagram, I have noticed one limitation, which is it only was relevant in a certain period of time. Instagram started to shift directions, new platforms coming in, people using it in a different way. So the book was kind of relevant in a short period of time, and I wasn't essentially planning to build on top of that to have maybe version 2 or expand some ideas, because as mentioned, I would probably try to focus on YouTube and other platforms as well. So the next book I'm gonna write, if I'm gonna write it, it's gonna be either about all the biggest mistakes I've made in my career, because I want to open up about, all the stuff looks nice, but there's also quite a lot of hard work in the background, and I also failed a lot of stuff. So I want to talk about all those mistakes. That's like first idea I have. And the second one is, I don't have a title or an exact topic, but it will be things I wish I learned when I started my career. So maybe focus more towards people who are starting, and talk about, again, my personal story of how I became from, guy who was designing for fun in high school to then leading a team in a big company, and describe the whole journey, how I got in there, and pinpoint some interesting stuff I think would be helpful for other people.
It would be. That sounds really good.
I want to do it in a way where it doesn't sound like it's a collection of buzzwords and know-how that can be available everywhere, because you have plenty of Medium articles, plenty of tutorials. I want to go in a different direction when I want to talk about my personal story and exact situations or occasions that happened to me and how I solved them, because this is the way I think I can bring something new to the people and share like a real value, where on the other hand, some people right now might be writing articles that are just 10th opinion about certain topic which is already out there. I want to look in a way where this is something I really been through, this is how I solved it, this is how I can learn from it, and I want to write it in a way so it's straightforward, the same way how the first book is written, and cut all the bullshit from it as much as I can. This is like the format I want to choose. And over years I've noticed this is the way how I communicate, this is the way how I write, this is the way how I talk, and I want to have it in a book as well. So that's the plan.
That really sounds very good. And before I ask you about a few tips that you might share, like a sneak peek into your book, can you tell me about the writing process itself? Because I've only written a few articles, and those are not really long form. They're just kind of short. So what is it like, and what mindset do you have to be in to be able to continually work on something for a long period of time?
So the thinking is similar to when I described this documenting during the process.
Okay.
So when I am going through a certain experience in my life, I am, in my head, it's already like forming in a way how I would eventually like to describe it to someone else. And it's the same with writing. So if I have an idea, I will keep it in my head for a while. I will make some notes, one word, a sentence, I will write it down in a bullet point list. And then when the writing as a process on its own comes, I will just expand on those points and try to wrap it up into a story. The thing I usually failed was that I wanted to sit down and 2 hours write something on a certain topic. It didn't really work that way, because I've noticed that I'm constantly thinking about those ideas. I'm constantly thinking about topics. So even, going to work, in public transportation, making notes, that's just going through my head and adding to that topic. And when I want to write something down, just gonna sit down, go through all the notes and connect it in a way so it makes sense and make a story. And that's pretty much how I wrote all of my articles in the past. And this is the way how I also write all my captions for Instagram. So I will make a photo, and then when I'm traveling or doing something else, I'll keep it in my head, keep the image in my head or the topic, and I will try to think about a way how to describe it to someone else, or how to expand that moment so it gets more context.
Engagement. Yeah.
And that's how I would probably write the next book as well. I would pick a certain topics or experiences that happened throughout my career, and I will try to constantly expand on them over time. And when it gets into a certain point where I have a lot of notes, I'll try to wrap it up into a chapter, let's say. In a similar way, the Perfect Grid was also written. I had an editor helping me to review some of the stuff, but the content part was written by me. And I basically went through how I post a shot on Instagram or photo on Instagram, what is involved in that process. And that kind of defines all the chapters in a book, and it also provides context of why I'm doing those decisions or what is my general thinking about it. And I'm not sure how other people write books because I have no experience with it at all. But I'm trying to do it in a way so it feels natural to me, like doing it my way. I forget about all the rules or how it's supposed to be done. I just do it my way, how it feels natural to me. And this is kind of the ideology I'm trying to do in a team as well, or for myself, like doing things my way, because everyone thinks you need to keep certain rules and stuff like that, which is quite limiting for me. And I found that writing is something where I can expand and feel free to do whatever I want, to describe it the way I want. And in the end, it looks like people like it. It's like the way of communication that is special for me or specific. And you can see it on those captions on posts or in a book or articles.
And if you would be willing to share just a few tips for, designers starting up, what do you think the inevitable failures are? What do you think that you really have to get past in order to be able to continue doing design?
I was thinking about it because when I tried to put together, at least a draft of chapters I would eventually talk about in the book if I would like to write it down. And I was looking at the first beginnings when I had in my career, and how I signed up for my first job when I was designing first projects or dealing working in a team for the first time. And I look at what I did differently that maybe helped me to step out or make the process faster. And I remember a moment where I was going for one of my very first interviews in a local company. And I walked in and I had no experience ever. The only thing I knew was how to edit photos in Photoshop. And I was signing up for a junior web designer at the time. And I walked in and I remember saying, I have no idea how to do it, how to design websites, but I just enjoy the process of learning it so much, so I'm willing to take this job, or something in that sense. I basically said I have no idea how to do it, but I want to learn it so bad, so I will do anything for it.
You were very transparent.
Yes, and I remember it to this very first day that I said something in that sense to the guy who was interviewing me, who later on ended up being my mentor for many, many years. And if I look at it from perspective now, it's what it did. It showed the ambition I had, or ambition to learn and become better no matter what. Mm-hmm. And this is what I am looking for when I'm looking for new designers for our team as well right now. I'm looking for the ambition and for what they want to achieve in life, in career.
So not necessarily the skill,
because
the hard
skills
skill.
Can be taught shortly. We had cases in our team when someone new came in, and over 3 months we taught him everything he had to learn. So skills aren't that important if you have the right mindset. That is something I've learned when leading the team, when starting my career. And I look at skills as something that is a reflection of that. So I may be scanning through a list of people and going through their portfolios, look at what they do. But when I invite them over and talk about their work, I'm looking for ambition. I'm looking for someone who is trying to bring something over to the team, to use that as a platform, as an opportunity to become better. And this is the environment I would like to build in our team as well. And this would probably be one of the first chapters I would write, because I think it kind of speaks for my career as a whole. I always had ambition, and anytime I was signing up for a different job or doing some new project, whatever, it was always this ambition to do something differently, do something better, bigger, whatever, and not look at how it's supposed to be done, just doing it my way. And I would like to have more like-minded people in our team or on my Instagram as well to talk about them and exchange ideas. That's the plan.
That all sounds really nice, and I hope it will be working out for you. I think it already is, so that's great. Do you want to talk about a few side projects that you've done? One of the, I guess the latest one you have is the AR thing, and a few other ones that you think were important for you to pause on the other work that you do, or just to have a mental freshening up.
We can maybe talk about the way how I approach side projects in general, because I think it's a little specific, to be honest. Because when I look at side projects, I have, 3 criteria that I'm usually looking to. The first one being I want to learn something new,
Yes.
where, the skate AR comes at hand, where I wanted to learn how to design for this technology. So I came up with a new concept where I can test it out and learn for the future. Then I have a second case where I'm aiming for getting a lot of attention. So I would design something or create something that would catch attention online.
So that's relevant for the time or relevant for the trend, whatever.
Yes. And it will bring attention to my portfolio, to my profile, so I can use that attention to get new deals or make new connections. And the third one is, client specific. So I want to create a side project that we can eventually use in our company, or I can use it to get a client or get some conversation going somewhere. So this is what I did, for example, for TSM, the esports website, where TSM is one of my favorite esports team, and esports as a whole or gaming is a topic I enjoy. And I wanted to approach them with a specific product that they can eventually use, or we can, talk about some partnership together. So I usually, when I'm doing side project, I try to pick at least one of these options or one of these goals I want to do, and then it provides me a little bit more context for what I'm doing. Because when I would just do a side project for the sake of it, I would probably ended up not finishing it at all, or I would not be sure why I'm doing it in the first place. It would, like, the motivation would not be that clear compared to, in these 3 cases, I have a certain goal I want to reach, and I'm gonna do as much as I can to reach it. And there are cases where it paid off. There are cases where it didn't. Mostly it failed that I had too big of an ambition sometimes. I wanted to approach clients who were too big or not really open for collaboration. And also with learning something new, I maybe explored topics or technologies that weren't important for me in long term. But there was a lesson I learned over time, because I've done plenty of those side projects, to be really precise in what I want to do. Because if it doesn't work out, I'm gonna burn a lot of time I could use otherwise on some other side project or some other sort of stuff. There's also important to mention that people sometimes overestimate side projects, and they will do too many of them. In a sense where if you have 5 side projects and let's say a full-time job, isn't the side project your main project, right? You're kind of getting lost in doing too many things in the same time, or not being sure what to do in general. So this is something I have struggled as well, and I'm trying to right now do at least 1 or 2 things at a time and skip the rest, because it is, you cannot really manage too many things.
Counting with your full-time job as well, like
Yes.
1 or 2 things counting with the job you have currently.
Because if you do too many side projects, like, you kind of suffer in terms of the main project being the full-time employment or working for one startup at a time when you're freelancing. So sometimes people jump into side project and do like 5-10 at a time, and then, the quality can go down over time. So this is something I have learned as well. Obviously failed. I have not even published those things in the past. And what I like about it made me think about side projects in a certain way, and also value the full-time job I have, and kind of find a balance between both. So I feel comfortable doing both at the same time. So the full-time job doesn't suffer, and I also can do something new on the side.
So you also separate the notion of a side project and a personal project. So not all side projects are personal. Sometimes it could be clients as well, right? Okay.
That's true. That's true, actually. I never thought about this that way, but that's true. Because I have side projects that are under STRV, and I have side projects for my own as well.
I see.
So there is a difference, but it's not that a big of a issue or topic. What I'm always doing for the company is gonna stay with the company. What I'm doing for myself only, it's mostly something that is not related to UI design, let's say. It can be a side project where I want to paint a painting and then do exhibition or whatever. So just something that is not related to my job, because I will be only doing web and mobile all the time. I'll be limiting myself. So my plan for side projects, for example, in the future, in long term, is to do as many variations as I can. Do a painting, exhibition, do clothing, I don't know, all those creative topics, and then pick one thing at that particular topic and do it right as a side project. That will be like a personal side project, compared to side projects at an agency where I can do these client-facing concepts or do something that will bring a lot of attention to the company in general. So those types.
And that knowledge that you gain through the side project, you can also bring it in here and share it. So it obviously does good for everyone.
And I can even do it in my work time if I want to. Because if I take care of the whole team and I am free and there's nothing else required from me, I can spend this time on those side projects.
That sounds really great. I'm hoping to be able to get that type of freedom in my life too. Yeah. And as you mentioned, clothing or as a potential future personal project of yours, do you imagine a personal brand, or what do you imagine it to be like?
Could
you
be.
like black stuff, right?
I like black stuff. Black on black.
Black on black on black.
No, I think
you also have nice shoes on there.
You too, by the way.
Thank you.
You have, what is it, like astronaut edition?
No, it's
space edition.
It's the Air Force One special field mid. So it's kind of and the white and military green version.
It looks like a space shoes.
Oh, thanks.
With clothing, I mean, I would like to do my own merchandise for my own personal brand, but I think it is too soon right now.
Okay. Would it be print on everything, or would it be black on black print?
I don't know exactly what's gonna happen, but I would like to do it at a point where I see myself as an athlete, let's say, and athletes do, shoes, sneakers, whatever. Yep. And I think you as a creative person, if you get a lot of attention and you build your brand in a certain level, you can be seen in the same way, like a leader of the community or influencer.
Public figure.
Yeah, public figure, let's say. So if I would do well, I will do, great projects over the next 5 years, and I will be known for my skills and know-how. I think building something like this as a personal brand is nice. You often see it with YouTubers, right? MKBHD also has own merch. So this is what I would imagine having as well at a point. But right now it's, I think, too soon. It would be cool to do it right now, but it would not reach too many people. It will be like a small group, friends and family. So
and you want to reach beyond, obviously.
I want to do it in scale. Yeah. So right now I'm focusing on doing a merch for the company, because we'll be doing some stuff with the company.
Is it hoodies, t-shirts, caps? Anything.
Yeah. A whole store of stuff.
Okay.
Hopefully.
But it's going to be stuff that you'd also like to wear. So
yes. And it isn't like something we would keep private. Like it's well known that we already have merch right now. So offering it for the public is like a small step.
And it's like a nice onboarding present for people that are joining the company, right?
Yeah, that's what you want to do. And for my personal stuff, I'm looking forward to do it in like 5 years, maybe. Let's say it's going to be interesting how my brand or what I do is going to grow over years. But once it reaches a certain point, I would try to do something just to try it out. I don't have any like big plans to, make a lot of money or, be well known because of that, but just like a fun project to do, because obviously I can play around with it. And as I said, if I take it as seeing myself as an influencer or athlete or public figure. Just doing this for fun would be, something I want to do, and I can check this box of side
goals
projects.
in your life. And are you thinking of a name for it? Or would it be based off of your name?
I was thinking about whether I should start something like a company where it would be just people sharing the same idea and calling it a brand, like a creative collaborative, let's say.
It will become a religion very soon. No, kidding.
But I'm not sure how it works. So for now, the plan is to keep just my personal brand, and then eventually, if I decide otherwise, that's not sure exactly how it's gonna happen. But it'll be cool to maybe have like same ideology in terms of designing apps, and then people who see the same way could buy some same clothes. I don't know. It's super broad, but what I want to enjoy about it is the process of making the t-shirt or the hoodie. So I don't really care about what is it ended up being, whether it's my logo or someone else's, but just feeling that I have my own merch or brand I can, wear or sell to other people, or I can work on it together. That would be the goal, to test it out. Same approach with the ebook, right? I started with small piece, want to do the print one day. So if I do my personal custom t-shirt one day, and in 5 years I'm gonna do like a brand that's gonna be worldwide, maybe.
Those are very, very nice plans, I think. I mean, kudos for reaching to this point, and how would you say, like, cheer on for the rest of the stuff, really. Is there anything that you'd like to discuss, and anything that you'd like to share, maybe? Do you have any topics in mind?
Maybe I could talk about your show, like what is your plan with it? I'm not sure if you mentioned it in the previous episodes.
Well, just very briefly, so we can talk about it for a short while. So I will call it Off Brief, because that's the domain I've been able to acquire, and the conceptual part behind it is that I've been working in different agencies, and the first being Possible. It's also a big network, now being Saatchi, but I now am not involved in any advertising, but I was in the past. And obviously, sometimes the feedback that you get that the idea that you've developed is off brief, which I think could be applied in some cases and was not really a valid comment in other cases. Whenever you present an idea that is brave, obviously it's not going to go through the first attempt, or it's not going to be well received in that sense. So although I really like brave ideas, and I really like to bring something very conceptual to a client and try to explain the whole process of coming up with that concept, and I think it elevates the quality of the work. So that is kind of the thought process and the brand itself. So I wanted to make it be about, to be about the community. First, the local community that we have in Hungary or Budapest, with designers and creative people overall. So first, I think with the guests that I'm preparing to reach out to will be mainly within this group. And later on, it might circle into something else. But for now, I still have to get myself a studio space where I can leave this equipment and not travel with it every time that I want to do an episode. That would be very cool. And I want it to be about the people. That's why I'm asking so many questions. I want it to be a platform where I can highlight the people I think should have a voice. You already have a voice. That's an exception. But there are a lot of people who are not so good in documentation. Maybe are a lot more shy than people who showcase their stuff. And I also want to have a continuous conversation going on within the community. So that's kind of the goal. I don't know how much of it can I actually reach. I don't know how people will receive it. So it's still something that I'm curious of launching and releasing and publishing, and it will happen very soon. And I've been kind of preparing for this whole thing and for the past 2 years. So I've been building the equipment, thinking about the concept, coming up with different ideas for different topics and different guests, and slowly started reaching out to some. So yeah.
Nice. I like it, especially the format is gonna. I'm not sure if I ever got invited into like such a long form format. So for me, it means there's a way to talk about those things more in context, because
And more in depth.
yes, and that's what I was looking for, and that's why I accepted the invite, because
Thank you.
I didn't really had a chance to talk about some things in detail in the past, where there are not that many podcasts or ways how to do it except interviews. So I think seeing from other industries and how people talk about technology, I think for designers, I think it could be an interesting point where you have an opportunity to express yourself and talk about what you do more in detail and provide people some context. Exactly what we did about my role in the team or about Instagram, because people only see the results of it, and we had a chance to talk about it in a way so they understand why we do certain decisions. And I think you're doing a pretty good job, or will be doing, hopefully, with letting those people having the platform to express what they want to talk about. And
That's the goal. That's one of the goals.
Yeah.
Yes.
that's going to be amazing.
Thank you. I think we can close it off here.
Okay.
If there's really anything else that you'd like to say.
All
That's
good.
it.
Thanks for
Thank
traveling
you.
to Prague.
Well, thanks for having me here in this amazing office, really, and thanks for your time.
Thanks as well.